Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Friday. Today is Friday, May 16th, and we are here at the weekend TGIF, even though I have one of those schedules today that is packed, meeting after meeting, so I'm going to have to earn my weekend. Anyway, today I wanted to answer a lot of the questions you guys have sent in the past 4 weeks. My primary job the past 4 weeks, through April especially, was navigating us through President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs that he released on April 2nd. And now that that's in the rear view mirror for now, I figured I could answer some of these questions that have just built up in my inbox and just clean them up a little bit. So here, I'm just going to go through them and answer your questions here. Arizona lawmakers approve a state crypto reserve. What do you think, Dylan? Yeah, I think that's absurd. I don't understand why they would do that. I think that all this talk of crypto really diminishes the dominance of the US dollar as a reserve currency. It seems self-defeating and it seems very political. And I don't think politics should get messed up with monetary policy. So I am not a fan. The budget came out this week. How do you think the bond market will react? And this is something that I've talked about a lot, that these deficits, we are running deficits like no other time in history. Even during recessions, we're running bigger deficits. It seems that this country cannot get over its COVID era spending, which is just not good for us. And bond market vigilantes are really a thing. Look what they did with Liz Truss in the United Kingdom. She came out with a budget that did a lot of spending without appropriate cuts. And the bond market in England spiked interest rates and really sent investors running for the hill, and it cost her her job, basically, as prime minister. And I think that we have risk here. The bond market now is sending us a warning. With the tariffs, when President Trump was focused on the tariffs, yields on the 10-year were going down because everybody pretty much knew that was going to be recessionary. But now we're seeing the budget come down, that we're seeing this, quote, big, beautiful deficit, really. And you're starting to see 10-year yields really go up. And I'll tell you something. Those yields are going to determine what stocks do. So investors are starting to pivot back to the yield on the 10-year because the Fed's not lowering rates. The economy's humming. Fed's not going to lower rates. So everybody's going to be focused on the 10-year. And the 10-year yield is going to act as a ceiling for how high the stock market can go. The stock market will not go above. If the yield stays above 4.5%, it's 4.4 now. But if it goes above 4.5, God forbid it touches 5, this market's going to have a hard time. It's going to get its head cut off every time it goes up. Those yields are very important. The question really is, what kind of deficits would we accept with 5% yields? Because our annual interest cost would be they're well over $1 trillion already. Look, let us hope that our people on Capitol Hill that we elected and President Trump steer a more fiscally responsible bill through Congress. It's still the early innings. Stable coins. They are backed by US dollars. Why don't I like them? That's a good question. Why don't I like stable coins? I don't understand if they're backed by US dollars and US bonds, I don't understand the benefit they have. Just buy US bonds or just trade dollars. Again, if the thing itself is underpinned by US dollars, what's the benefit? Just get the middleman out of the way and go for the dollar. And what happens is these companies, these crypto companies that are out there making money, they make a ton of money just fees on these stable coins. So maybe I don't understand it. Maybe it's above my pay grade. What can I say? Again, I don't understand. Sometimes I think the world is going mad, but here we are. President Trump has a plan to cut drug prices by 30 to 80%. How will that impact big pharma stocks? His executive order is a statement of intent. And yes, those of you who have written in to talk about that, calling it price controls, are 100% right. Republicans went bonkers when Biden's Inflation Reduction Act added price controls to big pharma drugs. So yeah, this is good old-fashioned price controls. There's no two ways about it. This is a plan. It's an executive order. There's really some debate on how far he can go. And how will this impact pharmaceutical stocks? It's going to be good and bad. Bad in the sense that if you cut the price somebody could sell something at, it lowers profits. Bad. The stock market has already priced that in, the biotech sector. And we, who have a biotech service, are very painfully aware of what has happened with the biotech sector since President Trump has gotten elected. But here's the good side of it. That is really going to force consolidation in the biotech and the pharmaceutical sector. It's going to really incentivize companies to merge to keep their profits really up in a world where even the Republican Party is pushing price controls. And they're talking about President Trump in his executive order talked about most favored nation status. And we want to pay, Americans should pay the same price for drugs that other countries pay. That's a funny political word and phrase because basically the price companies charge for drugs are based on the per capita income of that country. So pharmaceutical companies charge us a certain price as a percentage of our per capita income, which is very high, $75,000 a year. But a country that has a $50,000 a year per capita income, they charge them lower, but it's the same percentage of their income. If they're charging us $500, that's a percentage of our per capita income. Let's say they're charging us 10%, $7,500 for drugs. That's $7,500 we pay, 10% of $75,000 a year in income. If a country makes $50,000 per capita income on average, $5,000 is what they charge people of that country. They're getting their 10%. That's the bottom line. Big pharma companies have been getting their percentage of income. That's how drug prices are decided, country by country, basically. So all this that we pay more than anybody else is silly. That's politics. Trump's crypto. What do I think about Trump's crypto project? I'm not going to comment on politics. I just will not comment on politics. Just policy. Buffett retirement. I'll be talking about this next week. But Warren Buffett's retirement as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. Buffett, just to give you an idea how important he's been to me, he's the single greatest teacher that I've had in my life, business teacher that I've had in my life. I'm obviously very sad, but I'm also grateful that I went to BerkshireHathaway.com in the 90s, and I just started reading all those annual reports, and I urge you to do the same. They are such an important lesson. Forget business books. If you want your kids and grandkids to understand business and investing at a high level, I urge you to tell them to go to BerkshireHathaway.com and start reading those annual reports from Buffett, because the first one in 1977, I never forget it, nobody knew this guy. He's just a former hedge fund manager, basically, and I'm reading it, and he's saying, when you're buying a stock, these are the things that matter. Operating earnings to equity investment. He's breaking it down. It's the ultimate playbook for how to do this. It is why we were so cool when the market crashed, because we understand what companies are worth. That's how we were able to keep our cool and do so well, not get shaken out, and even pick up a couple of great stocks at cheap prices. You got to know how to do the game. If you want to play the game at a high level, if you want your kids and grandkids to play the game at a high level, I urge you to do that. Anyway, that is questions for today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Lord knows my daughter's taking ACE exams. I'm going to be driving her around, study this, mock test that, all these other things. So I'm going to be daddy driver, Uber taxi this weekend. Have a great weekend. See you Monday.